Welcome, everyone, to episode 378 of Just Joshing. I am your host, Joshua Pentalaresco. I write stuff in Podcast 2. Today, you heard her do story time on Saturday, and tonight you're going to hear the interview. J.M. Landels is live. We talk about her newest release. We talk about pulp literature. We talk about a little bit of everything right now, as one does when it's in 2020, which seems to be the year of... I figured out 2020, guys. It's a time machine. All our history has come together in this weird DeLorean-esque nightmare that we have to figure out how to deal with. Honest answer, and this has just been my observation, is history tends to repeat itself. Donald Trump is Ronald Reagan. Right now we're in 1968, protests and a pandemic. I mean, we have been here before, and we'll come out of this hopefully stronger, wiser, and better. That's the hope. And hopefully we learn. That is all any of us can do. And in the meantime, I'm talking about important things on my show. First and foremost, I talked about pterodactyl dung. Because after all, pterodactyl dung could be a weapon of mass destruction. Possibly. I'm not entirely sure, but I think so. Also, I'm kind of hosting an event with Susie Vidori. June 25th. I'm going to have more details in the next couple days. But yeah, man. And I got L0 coming out July 16th. Plus my regular book. So I've been doing my thing. The freelance thing has been an up and down road. There's some things I'm checking into right now. But I mean, all in all, man, I'm just enjoying the ride. Because all you can do. Sometimes the roller coaster just goes the way it's going to go. And all you can do is just do your part in it. But anyways, let's just get to our conversation today, shall we?
This episode of Just Joshing is sponsored by Indie Imprint. Indie Imprint supports creators by creators. Whether you are writing a book or creating a video game, Indie Imprint works with its clients to produce, edit, and present their projects to the world. For more information, check out their website at www.indieimprint.com.
Okay, so the recorder's officially on. So if you want to say something absolutely incriminating, make it good, okay?
I would never do that to you, Josh.
Never?
Never. But don't test me.
I don't want... No, see, okay, first and foremost, I've seen you with a sword. I would never want to test you in a million years. You'd be like... So that Zorro scene where he literally, uses the sword to strip her naked, I'm afraid you do something like that to me, right? Or something equivalent. You do strike me as a mischievous type, but you also strike me as someone not to mess with. And I've learned this, I got that impression from you a long time ago. You're very easygoing, but there are boundaries, and you just don't push them because you just might, So...
Well, the thing is, when you know how to use a sword, you can afford to be easygoing.
I just actually find it's actually the best way to be. It's a live and let live kind of old world. There's so much you cannot control. I think the only sane way to be is easygoing. Because otherwise, I mean, it takes a very, very special person to be mad that the leaves haven't fallen the exact way they're supposed to fall. And that's never just seemed like a really fun way to be. I would just rather that you do your thing, I'll do my thing, life will be good.
Yeah, that's a pretty good philosophy for staying sane, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I may not be the actual poster child for sane. I mean, it's me, but I find like the older I've gotten, the more I realize that there's really not a whole hell of a lot I'm actually in control of. And I could be mad about it, but that doesn't really change the fact that I'm still not going to be in control of the situation. I can just do what I'm supposed to do. I'm here what I'm here to do. And I'll let everything else kind of take care of itself. Because guess what? It will. That's just how it works.
Yep, that's true.
Yeah. So, I mean, whether you know how to use the sword or not, I think it's just a good zen to have. And, I mean, I get the feeling your confidence was there before the sword, just based on just what little I know about your business ventures. The sword, if anything, is just for you is just it's an enhancement to what you already are. Really?
It all came from that. Yeah.
Yeah. So what novel?
Well, the one I was researching, and this was, well, it was back in 2007 or 2008, I think, is a novel set in 17th century France, and I've actually only just recently got around to writing it, because I had my other works going on, but I was researching it. So that's the one that you can find 2 excerpts of in pulp literature. One is in issue 24, and the other one's in issue 26. It's called The Shepherdess, or La Bergère is her name because it's set in France. And she is a 17th century shepherdess turned spy.
Nice.
So yeah, that was why I picked up the rapier. I was researching, I was just Googling 17th century rapier, and the Academy Duello turned up, and I went, what? There's a school that teaches that, and it's here in Vancouver? I mean,
Yeah.
it was fate.
Well, no, it's just amazing how that stuff goes. I literally, so my plan for when I was in Vancouver was to explore the scenery there. I was going to quit my job and do freelancing and just try my hand at the many different things that are there, because Vancouver had so much to offer. Unfortunately, with the way circumstances worked out, a lot of those things weren't available to me, and aren't still available. But I've been in there. I mean, he's put a lot of work into that, and I watched him go. He's got amazing footwork. I watched him. It's like this is a discipline about not just how you wield a sword. It's like it's basically how you wield your body. It's almost like it's another language of teaching your body how to acclimate to. Is that accurate, or am I off on that, or?
Well, all martial arts are about moving the body. I mean, the sword is really an extension of your arm. It's something that lets you hit somebody without getting too close, which is perfect for these times.
Yes.
But I mean, all the, it's really just a long stick, and its value is in how you move your body. So that starts at the feet, your legs, your hips, your chest, your shoulder, your hand. It all flows together.
Which,
And that's true. That's true of every martial art, and really true of all physical disciplines anyway.
yeah, no, it really is. I mean, I'm pretty uncoordinated, or at least I was when I was younger. My day job, I mean, definitely strengthened my body, but I mean, in terms of like movement and grace, I don't know if I would be the guy you would refer to. But I consider, like I said, it's something. When the world opens up again, like I might actually go and play a little bit with a martial art. I'm thinking for me it'd be something like judo, because it's a good up close defense, and I'm like, and also it's a good way to learn how to discipline yourself, because one of the things I'm learning since I've done this freelancing stuff is it's really all about the discipline. Like I'm doing basically the same 3 things every day.
And that's discipline's kind of the key to success in any physical field and any mental field, really. That sort of getting those 10,000 hours in, doing that same thing over and over until you get better at it. And that, believe it or not, that's true of writing too. So a lot of people are quite willing to, say, practice a musical instrument over and over again until they get good enough to play for an audience.
Mm-hmm.
But you writers need to realize that even though you've read books all your life and you think you know how to tell a story, it's not until you actually put pen to paper or fingers to keyboard and put those hours in that you actually get good at it.
Well, that's true with everything. Like I the older I get, I mean, I've put in the hours on the podcasting. I still like the more I do it, the more I realize there's a lot I have to learn. I don't think the learning process ever truly stops, and I don't think I'll ever get to a point where I'm fully satisfied with where I'm at, and that's the only way I can grow. It's a very interesting dynamic you have when you write, or you edit, or you do a martial art, or any discipline really. You get to the point where you realize you're consciously incompetent, as someone would put it. Like, you're aware of your incompetencies, and you become consciously competent and ultimately unconsciously competent. And but even in those steps, I find like every person I've done that's done this, they all look at their work and they can all see these flaws that nobody else may even notice, but they do. But that's why they're masters of their craft. They know how it works. They know the nuances to their disciplines. And I think the good that separates good from great is that recognize to keep going and to keep practicing, keep doing the things that got you there.
Yeah, that's true. I like that. Unconscious competence is what we're kind of all striving for, I think, in all fields.
Yes.
But I don't feel like I've found that yet.
I don't think anybody that's really good at something really thinks they get to that point unless they're bored with. If I'm no longer passionate about something, I sense that more there. But if it's something I really want to learn, I want to keep going on that journey with, I don't think you ever truly stop learning. And I feel that I look at the novel, like we're talking off the air. I got my first review. It wasn't the nicest review I ever had, but I can take it one of two ways, right? I can take it as I'm hurt and this sucks and I can pout about it and cry about it, or I can go, okay, what are they actually saying? Is it constructive? Can I learn from it? Can I apply this to what I'm doing? Can I get better at it? Right? I mean, so if someone takes the time with you to actually criticize your work, that means usually there's value in it. No one, I realize you're an editor of a magazine and you get so many submissions. I'm not sure you have the luxury of doing this, but I'm sure there are people you have had where you're like, this is almost good. Like, this is almost what I want, and it's missing something. And you believe in that person enough to go, okay, look, this is what you need to work on. This is what I see This is what I see. And the thing is, you're not coming necessarily from. You're not coming from a negative place. You're coming, I want you to get better. I want you to learn. I want you to grow. I want you to get to the point where I cannot help but say yes. So this is what I think you need. I'm sure you've done that with a few people.
We do. I mean, if you're submitting to the magazine and you get a form rejection, that's one thing. But if you get a personal rejection, that means, we thought enough of the work to bother saying why we couldn't take it. And sometimes the reason we can't take it is it's just, we've had too many of those types of stories recently, or this one just didn't hit it with us. But it is always, with any editor or agent, if you get a personal rejection, that's gold, because you usually can find something in that will help you grow and get better.
Well, sorry.
To bring it back to sword fighting, failure is just as useful as success when you're learning how to sword fight. When you get hit, that's a moment to say, oh, that's interesting. What did I do wrong there? If you never get hit, you will never become a better sword fighter. And if you never receive criticism, you'll never be a better writer.
That's absolutely... Sorry, keep going. I'm sorry.
But, the thing to remind yourself, too, about reviews, especially when your work is out on Amazon and things like that, sometimes reviews are not constructive. Sometimes people just give one-star reviews because they're just in a bad mood, and some people do it maliciously. So you need to let those ones just roll off your back and accept that that's...
Do you want to hear my favorite criticism I've gotten on the story that I thought was of no use to me? I used the number 13. It's kind of like it's just a cue in the story, and the criticism I got was no one's going to be superstitious in the future, and I'm like, I don't know. I know people even today with lucky underwear, and I mean, if that's not superstitious, I don't know what is. So, I mean, some criticisms aren't of any use, but when someone's like, I'm not invested in your work, or I'm not, like, it didn't connect with me, sometimes there's a very valid reason why. And I, again, there's, as you point out, a big difference. Why didn't this connect, right? Sometimes it's a matter of taste. Sometimes it's a matter of you read the same kind of story. Like I notice when I read certain books, if I read too much of the same kind of book, I don't give that last author a fair shake because I've just read 3 just like it, right? And I need to change my reading habits so maybe I can enjoy this author again a little bit better again. I mean, you gotta be careful with criticism, but again, it's the other part of it too is you as a writer you have to be coachable. You have to be willing to be like, okay, I can get better. I can always get better. You have to always be a student, I think, in some way or another. And I think that probably applies with the sword as much as it applies with anything else.
Oh yeah. You can almost get better with the sword. You can always learn something from anybody that you're facing.
Mm-hmm.
You can learn something from facing an absolute beginner. You can learn something about yourself. So you can even, as a writer, you can learn something, even if you receive critique from somebody who's not an editor, who's, just a reader. I shouldn't say just a reader, because readers they're our audience, they're our patrons, they're what support us. But a reader with sort of a gut reaction from a reader can tell you a lot about your work, and it may be that if a reader doesn't like a particular work, if they say why they don't like it, that's valuable information.
Mm-hmm.
If they don't say why, it's like, well, that's interesting. No single book is going to appeal to every single reader, so you're bound to get ones, you're bound to have readers that don't connect with your book.
Exactly.
And it's, as far as the reviews on Amazon and platforms like that, you actually want to have a few negative reviews. You don't want them to all be negative, but you do want, if a book has nothing but 5-star reviews, it looks kind of suspicious. It doesn't look, it looks like, oh, well, it's just their friends and family all just reviewed this, or these are paid reviews. So if you have a few that are negative, that actually is a form of social proof as well.
Well, I look at it this way. If someone really hates the book, I did my job. If someone really loves the book, I did my job. It's when someone feels nothing about the book, then I fucked up. Yeah, that's kind of how I see it. I'm okay with that. Like I said, it's, and I'm looking forward to the reviews. When I read that 1 star, I hated this book because it sucks, and I'm like, thank you. I think, thank you for taking the time to read this, I guess, and you shrug and move on because that's life, But anyway, I was thinking also, the other reason why I wouldn't want to mess with you, and this is the other part about this is, well, you accomplish an awful heck of a lot. Pulp Literature is a great magazine, and honestly, one day it should get an Aurora nod. Guys, if you are on the Aurora committee listening to this, hear me out. She really should be on that list at least once, right? And 2, you're becoming a publisher that people respect, and my hat's off to you because that's really hard to do today.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah. You published Matt Hughes earlier in the year, and Matt is definitely not a lightweight in terms of the craft. He's very, very talented. I didn't even realize until I interviewed him. I read some of his stuff before, and it was like, holy crap! Like I knew of him, and it was just like, that's a pretty big feat to get someone like that to come and write for you. And that says an awful lot about your reputation and your resolve to get things done. So, my hat's off to you. That's amazing.
Well, we were definitely honored when Matt decided to, present the book to us, because he considers it his magnum opus. It's kind of his life's work, the book that's taken 40 years of thinking about before, finally writing, or I don't know if it's 40, maybe 20. So it was a real honor for us that he trusted us with that book.
The world kind of ended too, kind of in a weird way. The world just went through an overall paradigm shift, and it's an adjustment period. I don't know if 2020 is going to be a fair assessment to how you guys are or where you're going. Like 2021, 2022 might not even be fair at this point. So
yeah, it's everything is off right now. Like everything's just slightly weird.
Yeah. So I mean, you kind of like here, and I'm in Windsor. Chapters opens up again on Monday. I'm just gonna go in there just because I kind of want to go into a bookstore again. I miss it. I don't, but actually, I think the weird thing for me is I really don't miss that much. And maybe it just says something about my lifestyle at this point in my life. But I just look at the fact is that, you know, one of the things like something like this kind of makes you reflect on is what's really important. And I really don't know. I really don't know that. I hope we don't go back to a full normal. I don't necessarily want some of the things I'm seeing coming out down the pike either. But I don't necessarily want to go back to where we were either. Does that make sense?
No, I'm with you there. I don't think normal was working.
Yeah.
I think there are lots of things about our society all around the world that were not working. And I think what this has done is exposed them a lot. You know, it's exposed the weaknesses in the healthcare system. It's exposed income inequality and inequities in society. And I think I think our government's doing a fairly good job of trying to address these things. You know, they were so quick to get out the CERB and everything like that to support people, and they made it so easy to apply for, and their philosophy was just let's get the money out, and we'll worry about whether people are cheating and things like that later. And I think that kind of philosophy is what the world needs right now. We need to worry less about catching catching the little guys who might be cheating the system, or whether people deserve welfare or things like that. We need to worry more about the big guys, and that's what the government's doing too. They're making it hard for companies that have offshore tax havens to get any assistance and things like that. So I think there is some good going to come out of this if this continue. If we continue with this attitude, if we continue with the attitude that people who work jobs like grocery store clerks and healthcare workers and long-term care workers, they're not the highest paid workers, but boy, are they important.
Here's I think the flaw that was exposed in a nutshell. I think about it, like I always talk about, I think how Canadians are some of the most talented people in the world, and I really do believe that. I've been very fortunate to interview just some of the more amazing people I've come across, just doing these incredible things, and they don't even realize it. But I think one of the biggest mistakes we've made as a country up until this point is we don't invest enough in our own people. We invest in ideas and we invest in concepts, but our own people, we tend to shy away from that in a variety of ways. This is the first time that we've stopped and I think really looked at what that actually entails. And going forward, my sincere hope is that we invest in people more and invest in things less. Because I think where we can rebuild things better is if that equilibrium was there. Hey, we're not going to worry so much about that big company. We're going to worry about that guy trying to get his business off the ground. We're going to worry about that guy trying to invent something. We're going to worry about that guy that's just trying to make ends meet, because otherwise everybody's going to come out of this poorer. And I don't necessarily think anybody wants that, because it's going to make it harder for everybody. So that's my hope anyway. We'll see how it all goes and plays out.
Yeah, I hope so too. I think that's a good way of summing up is we need to worry about people and not about companies.
The last financial crisis, Iceland actually was the only country that threw all the bankers in jail, which I thought was really interesting. They decided that they were going to take a hit. It's like, you know what, we're just going to invest in people. We're not going to worry about anything else. We're just going to invest in people. they don't have the biggest economy in the world, but they have one of the stabler ones. And I thought about that. Like, if everybody's getting by, if everybody's making a living, does it really matter how big your economy is if everybody's doing well? Probably not. So that's my secret hope. That's kind of what I'm hoping for goes. That's what I hope. That's where I hope things go going forward. We'll see. Like I said, there are things that make me go, yeah, we might go that way, and there are things that make me go, we're not going that way. And I like I said, I just hope people pay attention. That's kind of like my only hope in this. And beyond that, just doing what I can to try to spread joy and just do what I can, just do what I know how to do. So we'll see how it all works out. So how about you? What has been the biggest changes in your life since this happened?
My life itself doesn't change much because I am fortunate enough to live on a 12-acre farm. And the horses don't know that there's a pandemic on. We have lost some income because we stopped doing lessons for a couple months. We've just started those up again. We still aren't up at doing group lessons yet, so that's been a big hit financially. And I find the most stressful part of my week is actually grocery shopping, which sounds weird, but that's the day I go out and brave the crowds, and I don't even mind the lineup so much, but I think there's a mental stress there when you're just trying to maintain distance from everyone, trying not to touch all the vegetables when you pick them up and things like that. So it's kind of weird and a small thing to find stressful, but I do find that is usually my worst day of the week. But like I said, I'm really lucky. I've got my horses. My daughters all still live at home, and they look after the horses, and so I've got built-in farm help.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So, you're basically just by and large carrying on what you've been doing.
Pretty much. And the other big change is that I've been teaching swordplay classes online now, which is a big shift. It's a little weird to do, and there's been every week seems to be a new tech glitch happens or something like that, but it's slowly working it out.
Using Zoom?
Yeah, some of them are through Zoom. I really don't like Zoom much at all, I have to confess, but it's the platform we're using. I've been doing some through Discord, just live streaming, sort of the limited 2-person out of combat classes that we've been doing. We've just started doing Academy Duello's running a GoFundMe because their rents have not gone down at all, and they're paying downtown Vancouver rents with absolutely no classes going on. So they have a GoFundMe happening, which and as part of that, we're doing by donation swordplay classes that are just open to anybody. So anybody who wants to go and try out a swordplay class from home, all you need is like a broom handle or a stick or something like that. You can check those out on the Duello GoFundMe page. That is in fact what I will have to be doing at 6 o'clock tonight.
Well, I was about to ask this question. I guess this is the interesting thing. I thought about this. I don't know property is going to be so valuable when this is all over. Maybe housing, but I don't know about downtown building anymore, because it is forcing people to look at new ways of doing things. And
I agree. I think downtown lease prices and property is going to plummet because people are finding out that they can work from home.
Yep. Well, yeah, and like there are some things that you definitely need a building for, like school. Like I don't care what anyone says. I think a classroom environment is probably still the best environment for kids overall. But okay, you're not in a classroom, you're not necessarily, and you need obviously a hospital, like stuff like hospitals, stuff like that too. But if you're not there, and you've been forced to reevaluate your business to something that's a little bit more mobile, like online, do you really want to go back to that office? Probably not. And do you want to go through that traffic again? Probably not. So when you look at what that building actually gives you now, it's not the same thing anymore. I think that a lot, like, businesses are going to be looking at property in the long run. It's like, hey, you know what? We don't really need it. Outside of maybe, like I said, there are things that we'll need, still need something. But I could see it where maybe homes become more expensive and buildings downtown become cheaper. I could be wrong, but...
Which could be really good for the art scene, because, you know, if downtown office space decreases in value, maybe we can start getting, you know, cultural things happening again.
Well, Vancouver has to look itself in the mirror at some point. Your property values there are crazy. Like I said, I was just renting a room for what I was paying for an apartment in Calgary, and I knew it was going to be more expensive out there. But what kills you guys is the property. It's nothing else. Everything else is livable. But your properties are just crazy, and no one's got the wages for that stuff. And at some point, you're going to look in the mirror and go, you know, do we really want... And no one's going to be able to pay, and eventually that stuff's going to crash at some point. And, I mean, this situation's kind of like illustrates this point. Nothing's going on, so why have the building? Just default, right? You can just... Or the worst thing scenario could happen was what I've seen happen in some places in England. The properties got so high that the landlords ended up charging $1 for rent because it was cheaper to get someone in the house than hire security. So...
It's definitely going to change the commercial market. I don't know about the housing market, just because Vancouver is still a pretty desirable place to live.
Yeah.
But if some of the commercial property, you know, becomes cheaper, it may sort of have a knock-on effect on housing.
Well, the thing is, I don't know about the other thing too, is housing now is going to be looked at more as an investment for a business now as well. So it's not going to be, there's going to be like a double reason to have it now. I think ultimately the question is going to become, I think a lot of people are going to look at too, is your house worth keeping if it's this massive debt load? Because if you're not working, if money's not coming in a traditional way, what do you do with it? It's just a noose on the neck. And for a lot of people, that's, you know, most of us can't afford that kind of money to have that kind of noose. So it'll be interesting to see what happens when it's all said and done. So
yeah, it definitely will be interesting.
What do you miss?
There should be lots of fodder for new stories and new novels and things like that.
Oh,
There'll always be art, so that's a good thing.
Oh yeah, and we are just now evolving how we're going to do it going forward, which is always fascinating. Necessity creates change, and we're in a very interesting time. So I'm going to ask you, I think, 3 more questions. The one last thing about this: what's the one thing you miss the most, like that you can't do right now that you did before?
I think it would be my dance classes. I've been doing those every Tuesday and Wednesday for years and years and years, and my body really misses not doing them. My dance studio has been putting on some classes through Zoom, but it is not the same.
No.
You don't get the same sweat on when you're trying to watch a Zoom video and follow along as you do when you're actually in the room. But the good news we found out is that our studio will be opening up in June, so I'm super excited, even though it means a 45-minute drive into Vancouver and then back again or into Richmond to get there. I'm so stoked to be going back to dance classes.
What kind of dance, if you don't mind my asking?
I do jazz and ballet.
See, that's another reason not to mess with you. You do ballet. ballet dancers are like some of the strongest people in the world. So,
It does require a lot of strength.
yeah, no, they are some of the strongest people in the world. They are maybe the quietest badasses in the room. Like, honestly, you balance your whole body on very little space, and you do it for extended periods of time. There are very few things I'd rather not get kicked by. I'd rather get kicked more by than a ballerina. It's just you guys are tough. So I mean, it's just one of those things where it's just like, yeah, Jen, I'm never gonna mess with you. I promise. I swear to God. Never in a million years will I mess with you. Skewer me, you'll kick me. I mean, you might be able to gorilla press slam me over your head. I mean, no, we're not gonna. No. Yeah. But you also got your books. I mean, you had books just come out, and
yeah, my second novel just came out, and that was a little nerve-wracking because second novels, you just wonder if you never know if they're going to be as good as the first one. Even if you wrote it, you don't know if it's going to be as good as the first one. But the few reviews that I've had in so far, some feedback is that people are liking this one even more than the first one. So I'm really happy with that.
That's awesome. So I guess I'll ask this question. Okay, I found when I did my second poetry book, the hardest thing for me was the continuity. The continuity of the book was the difficult part, right? Because it was just like, okay, I have to keep all my facts together. I'm trying to keep a consistent narrative throughout, and juggling that was the new challenge in book 2. But I learned a lot. I learned an awful lot doing it. So what did you learn?
What I've learned is that I really should stop setting up these threads that I have to tie up in 3 books. The second book, that was hard. Right now I'm working on the third one, which will be the final one, and I'm just, I'm thinking, oh, why did I do that? Why did I create this mess that I have to tie up? I'm sure it will all work out in the end, but
sure. Sure.
It's like, why did I start that thread? Well, because I was interested in it. Yeah, but now I have to tie it up.
Did you plot that, or did you fall into it?
And no, I don't. I'm really a pantser. That's my problem. I have always known. Well, with my first book, I knew how it started and I knew how it ended, and I didn't really know anything that happened in the middle.
Yep.
And then with the series arc as well, I knew how it started and I knew how it ended. I also knew how the second book ended and how the third book started. But again, I didn't know anything else in the middle there. So I had those points, and I've been writing to those points. Yeah, it's just, I mean, the third book is, I have written it, it's done in first draft, but there's still a lot of stuff where I wrote in brackets, like, fill this in here. So back through, it's like, oh, damn.
So when I do my first drafts, I call it draft 1, which is usually the handwritten draft, and then draft 1.5, which is when I type it up, and then it's like, okay, let's fill this gap in, fill this gap in, fill this gap in, because the idea is I kind of do a small edit on the first draft and do a rewrite, a little bits of rewriting. Then when I have like my 1.5 draft, I look at it and goes, okay, what kind of hot mess did I create here, and how can I fix it? Can I fix it? Right, and that's me. I'm plotting more as I get more into it because I find it helps a little bit in terms of consistency. Are you at that point yet, or are you just going to be a pantser the rest of the way?
I wish I could plot more. I have tried. It just bores me to death.
Yeah.
I start to plot and it's like, no, it just kills the book for me. So if I could plot, Mel Anastasia, who's one of my partners in crime at Pulplit, she's an amazing plotter. She just, she plots everything and she knows where the turning points are and where the darkest moment is, and she knows everything about that story, and she writes so much faster than I do because
have a theory. Would you like to hear it?
Sure.
You enjoy surprise.
True.
Right, and the problem with plot is, I think there might be an inner fear of losing surprise, and you do a little bit. There's no way around that, but sometimes the book just goes off the rails anyway, and it's usually better when it does. I just find much like life, I find that I have a vision, right? My mind tends to move towards that vision. And having little gaps to figure out how to get there is great. Now, every once in a while, my characters have a little voice say, "Hey, Josh." It's yeah, no, we're not doing that. And I don't know. Maybe you have these elaborate conversations with them too. Sometimes it's this is how it works, and you sometimes go, "No, it won't." And then they say, "Yeah, well," and you try to ignore that voice, and it kicks you hard. It doesn't work. And go our way. And then you do, and it works, and you're well.
Yeah.
There will be surprises, I promise you. That's all basically what I'm saying. If I think if there's a surprise factor, you do lose some of it. You can't completely escape losing the surprise. But what you gain out of it is you have a clearer vision of what you want, and that's what I've been learning. I don't know if I would be a complete plotter. I enjoyed the parts. I enjoyed the surprises, and I enjoyed pantsing my way through some things too. That's why I have a giant cupcake in my second novel, just because I enjoyed that came out of nowhere, and I was okay, let's just run it, see where it goes. Right? But that's me. It's how my brain works. But for me, it sounds to me like you're one of those people that enjoys the surprise of the story and where it can lead you next. And if I'm right about that, that might be why you hate plotting.
Yeah, well, I have to say it's not completely, in the dark. I do know where the character is going. I like to leave it open along the way, because sometimes, and I think you can plot and still have surprise. You can still, as long as you're not wedded to your plot. And what I've realized is that, but I do actually write better when I allow myself to just follow the character, and sometimes it takes me way off the path, but that's a better journey. So I've kind of just accepted that that's the way I write, and it's going to take more editing, and it's going to take more restructuring in the second and third draft, but that's okay. I've come to terms with it.
You've made peace with how you do things. And there's nothing wrong with that. Are you happy with it?
With the book?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then.
Yeah. Yeah, it's nice. It's nice to have a. Like I said, it was hard to launch it. I launched it in April, so we just did an online launch. And, not having things like the Creative Ink Festival, which we were planning to do this year, would have been kind of a big place to sell books.
Mm-hmm.
So again, sales are not great right now. But hopefully once I can start doing in-person events again, because I really love those. I really love being able to connect with readers. I've had readers who've been nagging me for the last 3 years, when is that next book coming out? Hoping to be able to put it into their hands in person.
And you still might get that. Like I said, this year is going to be an outlier for obvious reasons. If this was a different year, I think everybody's sales would be stronger, and that's just the nature of the beast. But right now, the best thing you can do, I guess, is advertise the book as much as you can, and work on the third book. And when everything opens up again, then one day it will all open up again, because this will pass. Things like this always do, and we'll have some new normal, whatever that is, and once that's all adjusted, people will go out to concerts again, people will do conventions again, people will do all these things again. I had a conversation with my dad, and one of the things he says is that people forget, and what I threw back at him was, sometimes forgetfulness is actually a great thing. Oh no.
You just kind of...
Yeah, I know. I just did it. No, I'd ask you just to cut out, so I'll say this again. The thing about forgetfulness is, right, sometimes that's a great thing. Because forgetfulness lets people move on past that moment where things were stopped. we're not going to forget everything about this, but we will in time forget about the worst parts of this, and we'll move forward again. And when that happens, we'll have conferences again. We'll have Creative Inc., we'll have When Words Collide, we'll have CanCon, we'll have it all, and get to hang out again. And I'm looking forward to that day.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it will happen.
Eventually. Well, Miss Jen, I'm not going to leave you. I'm going to give you some time to prep for what you're going to have to get going for. But I promised you about 45 minutes, and I think I'm going to keep my word. So before we wrap this up, why don't you plug your book, plug anything else that's happening right now that you'd love to people get involved with, and how people can find you.
All right. Well, my book is Elenia's Song Area. The first book is Elenia's Song Overture. So if you haven't read that one, read the first book first. It's available everywhere, Barnes & Noble, Amazon, and through our website, publicliterature.com. There is an excerpt of a novel that I mentioned, The Shepherdess, in issue 26, which is out now, and that also has a Matthew Hughes story in it, The Bicolor Spiral. And then coming up this summer, we've got, I will have a new Elenia story, a standalone excerpt from a novella that comes in between book 2 and 3. So all that is coming up. And also I want to direct people to our Friday live readings. We do this every Friday, 10 o'clock Pacific time. We have 3 authors on from the magazine. Each of them reads an excerpt of their story or a poem, and we have a little chat. You can post questions on YouTube, and we'll pass it on to the authors. So that's every Friday, 10 o'clock Pacific, on YouTube, Pub Literature YouTube channel. And that's what we're doing right now.
That's awesome. All right. I think we have an interview here. What do you think?
Yeah, that was good.
All right.
Something wicked this way comes. Prairie Gothic is a new collection of psychological horror stories set on the vast Canadian prairies by up-and-coming talents. And we need your help. By contributing to Prairie Gothic through Kickstarter, you can unlock special swag, exclusive contributor-only events, and even have a song written about you. Visit kickstarter.com/profile/prairie soul to find out more and see what's waiting for you in the wide open spaces.
And that was my conversation with J.M. Landels, ladies and gentlemen. Elena's Song Area is available now. Check out her works. Jen is one of the most I use talented a lot, but I mean, such a skilled person. Athletically, she's a world-class swords fighter. She's a businesswoman. She's an astute one. She's made a name for herself in the publishing industry. Pulp Literature is a great magazine. And honestly, to my Aurora friends who are listening to this, she needs to be nominated for the Aurora for her magazine. She really does. Jen, Mel, that whole crew put on a killer magazine of the highest quality each and every year. The fact that they have not hit a ballot yet, honestly, is a little bit of an indictment to the Auroras. They really, really should get that opportunity at some point. That's just my opinion, but I mean it. I mean, they really are. So, before I wrap up, I got a couple little small things I got to do. So today was the launch of my friends, the Red Point Crooks. Morgan Chammy's going to be on the podcast next week. It's I have Brian Tan on Thursday. I have Tim Niederreiter doing story time this week, and next Thursday, Morgan Chammy will come on the podcast. And I'm a big fan of her. I really enjoy her. I love her journey as an author. I love her more. I enjoy people that don't quit on their dreams, and Morgan is one of those people, which is why I actually bought a copy of her book. Morgan's book is, I can't wait to read it. I actually got a physical copy. I was shocked I could find that on Amazon, but I did. I was able to do it. Parliament Press has a great core of writers. I've interviewed Chris Carolyn already. AJ Brana's coming up on the podcast as well. What I'm saying is to everybody, ladies and gentlemen, is it was an honor to interview her, and her book is worth promoting and pursuing. So check out the Red Point Crooks if you can. And that will do it for this episode, Just Joshing. If you want to support the podcast, you can do so a number of different ways. Subscribe to it. I'm on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, all pretty much podcast platforms you can imagine. My YouTube channel is Joshua Penteleresco. My book, The Cloud Diver, is live. You can definitely check it out on Amazon right now. Stay tuned for Alice Zero. The order date is coming up really soon. It'll be available July 16th, courtesy of myself and Kenzie Carr. My YouTube channel is Josh Penteleresco. My Twitter and Instagram is at jpenteleresco. My Facebook page is Josh Penteleresco, author podcaster. I want to thank each and every person listening to this. Stay inspired, chase your dreams, and I'll see you guys next time.
Josh.